makes a person of interest. Coach Micheal Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.
Hi there, I'm Coach Micheal Burt, the super coach, and every single week I like to spend time with talent, what I would consider people of interest. Many years ago, I wrote a book called Person of Interest, and that's how to become a must-have versus a nice-to-have, right? It's how you become a person that is moving the world forward. It's how you live an interesting life. You hang around interesting people. You do interesting things. And several years ago, I was introduced to what I would say is a very interesting character named Hank Norman. And Hank, over the years, you and I have gotten closer, and I've followed your work. You follow my work. We've been friends. You're incredible at what you do. And I really think over the last couple of years have even blossomed and into a big star in what you do. So I want to thank you, number one, for coming on the show Person of Interest with me, the podcast. And number two, I want to thank you for coming to Nashville to my lodge in September, the 13th of September, to do a full day event on a concept called Baby Star to Big Star. So I want to play pitch and catch with you, big guys. That sound good?
Sounds great. And thanks for having me, Coach. I appreciate it.
You're in New York City today?
I am right in Manhattan.
The Big Apple. Well, I'm coming. I just agreed to do something with Bold CEO. I'm like, yeah, let's go to New York City and do something with Brian. Let's do something with Hank. Let's do something with everybody, right?
I like it.
All right. So I want to ask you a series of questions because I've been talking about this concept of Baby Star to Big Star. I actually bought the domain name babystartobigstar.com, by the way, because for years I've been fascinated, Hank, with this evolution of a person to go from obscurity to known to impact. And for a long time, it's like, who do you call? Like in Nashville, you come to Nashville, you want to be a star. And when you come to Nashville, you play honky tonks for tips. And then somewhere along the way, an artist management person and a development person, and they come along and they put a little team of people around you, and they say, you go sing, and we're going to help make you famous. How would you define a star? Like what's your definition of a big star in today's world?
To me, it's changed, Coach. Like what a star used to, what you just described is what we all know, right? That's fame. Like you go and you do something and you become famous for having done this thing. And a lot of people know you, and you're kind of like that, you're on a pedestal, right? All the ideas behind fame. And I think what's changed with that technology has changed this idea of what famous is. Famous now isn't how many people can look up and know you. It's how many people do you actually know?
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. And
it's
so
changed.
Do you feel like that's the primary reason people come to Market Media? Is it to develop a compelling message? Is it to package up their ideas? Is it to become famous? Like you guys have a lot of famous people in your arsenal. I mean, you've coached Cardone and Mel Robbins and Steve Harvey and some of the Tim Stories, and you coach Burts and all these people out there. Why do you think people come to you? Is that the number one reason?
Well, the stuff I steal from you, Coach, I credit you every time I steal it, but Tim Story might be the life coach to the stars. He still needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. So Grant still needs coaching. I wish I could get more time with Grant. I want to take Grant from where I know how to take Grant from where he is to even bigger. I know I can do. I've done that. I've started huge cable networks. I've started major daytime television talk shows. I work with big talent. I love playing big. But guess what? I also love it with entrepreneurs. I love it down where Grant was 9-10 years ago when we met, and it's working on that story. What really drives you day to day, that's what gets you to the top, dude. Look at what Mel has in common with Grant, has in common with Steve Harvey, has in common with anyone at the top of the game. As the coach of coaches knows, they got that drive, dude. But that drive, guess where that drive comes from? Out of the excitement of that interaction of you day to day with your so-called fans. That's got to be your tribe now. It's not fame, it's connection.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I really like that because I think a lot of people want to be famous for famous sakes. And I heard TD Jakes say this once in an interview. He said, I didn't set out to become famous. I set out to become effective. And the more effective I was, the more famous I became. And I thought that was a good way of looking at it. So that leads into my next question. The makings of a star. I know they have the prey drive, Hank. I know they have the drive to go get it. There's a deep desire. I mean, I wrote the book Person of Interest. Maybe I tell people maybe I wrote it because I didn't have a relationship with my dad early on in life. And maybe I had this void of something I wanted to become a known entity in the world. I don't know. I say maybe that's it. But I do know this. You and I have hung around enough people that are at the top of their game. And there's more to it than flash. I mean, these people have a hard skill set. They have something that they have honed and refined for years and years and years. And you can tell it. So what is the makings of a star other than just a prey drive piece?
So I love you have a new book on that, right?
I'm working on a new book on that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I want to read that. I mean, that is exactly it. Like, I won't say without that, like you might argue without the prey drive, there's the other piece, but I've taken people that aren't really sure of what drives them or
That's
what,
right.
because there's two pieces your prey drive. To me, coaching people comes in two pieces before you get to the acumen, which we'll talk about, which is there's the piece you talked about, which is internal. A trauma happened to me, and now I'm gonna right a wrong. I overcame this thing. But what comes with wanting to share your overcomings is this drive to actually want to help, this thing external to yourself. And now with today's social media, the more you can tap into that empathy piece, to me, you can have a low prey drive as long as you have a positive empathy drive. If you have a really powerful need to impact, and that can come from insecurity too. I'm not saying it doesn't and can't, but it also is outside yourself. It is this thing that where the pros really get seen from those that are just underneath is you got to really care. Like if you care about other people, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, John Kennedy, I don't care whether you believe in anything any of those people had to say or do politically or otherwise. They cared about other people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and the ability to relate to that. I agree with that. And I think that's a great way. I haven't looked at it that way. The prey drive versus empathy drive. Because you're right, the real connection comes when the number one thing people said to me after I spoke at 10X was you were real and you were authentic. And we could tell that you cared about the people you coached. Like that's like other than that, that's what they said to me. Okay, is you're real, you're authentic, and you care about the people you coach. Now, I've had to get better. Because when you guys were coaching me several years ago, if you remember, I was totally blocked off to being vulnerable. I was totally blocked off because I'd never done that before. I'd always been a coach that told people what to do. I'd always found a way to be successful, and I didn't want to share any of that other side to me. Now, over the past few years, I tell people the coaching that you guys gave me several years ago, although I resisted some of it, it took me a couple years to get it. And then once I got it, I would tell you that's the number one thing that's helped me get on bigger stages. It's the number one thing that's helped me connect to audiences, be more vulnerable. But I want to share with the audience is something that you guys taught me years ago, which was the story of origin. And why that's important, because I'm coaching mortgage originators, real estate agents, entrepreneurs, business owners. I mean, you name it. And it's very important that they understand their story of origin and how to tell these stories. Explain that to the average person that's watching the show that really did, because I didn't know it until you guys coached me on it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I came up as a TV producer, and in college I was an English major, and English literature. So all I know is storytelling. All I know is making stories as a TV producer. All I understand is telling a story. And a huge component of every story, read Joseph Campbell, Hero of a Thousand Faces, that idea of where you came from, what you went through, what you had to overcome, what caused you to be the person you are today. If you're not clear in that, how am I going to know how to understand who you are and what you can do for me? So if you're not clear on the shit you've been through and how you overcame it and the tools you have, how are you going to be clear of giving that information to me? So it is a very, very important first step.
Right. And no matter what you're selling, this is very important, because the people that are going to come to our event are going to be sales professionals, entrepreneurs. They're not just speakers and authors. And I mean, we're selling this to people and saying, look, you need a compelling story. You need to sell a story and a set of convictions versus a product. Like, you need to come and understand what a story of origin is, what your story is, how to share that story. And what would you tell them about this vulnerability piece? Because that's a piece that, like I said, I've had to grow, because most of my life I've been a teller. I tell people what to do. This is how you do it. You go do it like this. You do it like, I'm like this little machine. And I didn't share any of the vulnerability. Why is that so critical when you're telling your story on Facebook, when you're clicking the videos, when you're doing the deal? Talk to them about the vulnerability piece.
Why vulnerability is so important, Coach, and I'm glad you asked, because I think people think this is just about personal and hardship and all the pain in the story we just talked about. It doesn't have to be. What it does have to be about is your understanding, the involvement, you're wanting again to have an impact on your audience. This idea of being open and honest about what you're going through, even if you sell a product, even if you even if you sell a thing, how that shows up in your life, what that did or does for you. Like, why are you here selling this product? Why is that important to you? That story, that openness and honesty of where you were and what it did and how it helped you and how it helps people you work with, being honest around those things, the ups and the downs, that transparency, that's what we require from people. We don't want someone just showing up and say, I got a product for you. That's that's Mad Men shit. That's dead. That's done.
Right. So when it comes to all right, so let's take some case studies. All right, and let's talk about it because I think what most people need to know is that you have been instrumental in helping people who had something to say it in a way that took it to the world. So when you're looking like a Mel Robbins, what do you think catapulted her to this level that she has? Like when you're
let's talk about Grant first, because Grant's the simplest. Grant was literally one of those people who was in complete.
Yeah.
He wasn't in denial of his story. He was in denial of sharing something negative had a positive impact.
Okay.
He didn't believe that. He was like, to him, it doesn't make sense. The reason you never see Grant do anything negative, he doesn't deal with negative emotion.
Right.
And so his belief was that it didn't make any sense for him to share stories of negativity of his past because that didn't serve him or his audience. And I would just look, Steve and I were like, I'm like, dude, I hear you, and respectfully, you're not right in the media. That's not right. You're not right.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so it was really getting him to understand stories of origin, talking about the past.
The willingness to do it, Coach. You just spoke to it too. The first thing that you said took you years. You're not stupid. You did not understand the concepts. It's the shit you have to go through internally to go, is that how I really want to show up?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's really when you connect. Like that's really when you connect. And you know, for most people, and I go back to the 10X presentation. Late in my presentation, I had the audience, then I lost the audience. Then instinctively, I knew to go to a story about rejection. You know, when I was 25 years old, buying an engagement ring, taking the ring back. And Hank, I would tell you, out of that whole presentation of an hour, the time that I had, how many people was in their room, 9 or 10,000 people, lean in and look at me. And I could feel it on that stage is when I told the story of rejection and how I used it. And then I circled back to my wife. And, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing, like that was a moment, that was a defining moment for me. But instinctively, it kicked in because I'm losing them. And right, like you need to be vulnerable here. So you would say it's the willingness to be totally transparent and share your whole life, right? That's one thing, show it all. Good, bad, ugly, right? Which is real hard for people.
Very hard.
To be vulnerable. How important is it to share these stories of origin over and over and over? Because are you trying to share them with new people? Are you trying to just cement it in people's minds? Or are you trying to connect with the person? Like, explain that.
It depends. Like Grant Grant, it comes up, like, you know, if you follow Grant, you see his come up. Mel is kind of talking about hers every day. So hers was, and even when I was working with Mel 10 years ago, anxiety was her problem. And he did not want to talk. I mean, obviously, it's not a secret. A lot of people have anxiety issues, attacks. Nobody talks about it. So Mel is one of the first ones actually saying, wait a minute, this really screwed me up in my life. But not only did it do that, I have a tool and I found a fix to it. So sharing your life for Mel and for Grant, for many of the experts I work with that aren't selling widgets, they're selling this unique ability to reframe what you've gone through and say, I have a tool to get you out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very important that I can help you, right? Like I've gone through it. I've developed something to deal with it. I can help you do it. Yeah. Now, how important is it today? Do you feel that most people, Bradley said this to me one day, and I've never forgotten. He said, Coach, you're real good. You're just not real known. He said, I got a posse of people in our online VT that are so good, but they're just not so known. So how important is this marketing and promotion piece? And Don't you feel like that's most people's problems? Like, I'm sure you come across people that are incredibly talented and you're like, dang, this dude's good, but not enough people know it. Why do people struggle with this concept of marketing and promotion?
That's a very good question. I have so many notes because solving this is the holy grail, right? Because you described years as a process of talking to me and Steve years ago. It really is a very difficult thing. I mean, if you want the truth, coach, to me, what I found now working with thousands of people is that it's about you loving yourself first. The first person you have to get right with is you on camera. And what Facebook Lives and videos and what social media has done is allowed us to see ourselves. It's actually for the first time in history, in the past 7 years, life has changed in that I spent all of my life just being myself and doing whatever I did, right? I remember when I launched Oxygen, the cable network, I was on a live television show every single day. And then when they realized that wasn't going to be feasible doing live every day, they're like, oh, this show's going to go into repeats. So 3 months after I started on air, I was doing a 5-minute segment every single day. I saw repeats of the show and I saw myself in a segment that I didn't realize because it aired 3 months ago. And I literally overheard it as I was sitting at my desk and I was like, whatever I'm listening to is awful.
Yeah.
And that idea that we all watch ourselves and we're like, oh my God, that's who I am. That's how I show up. And we're basically seeing our survival personality, right? This person that we became in order to just take care of us. And when you actually watch yourself on camera, when you use social media actively, you're like, that's how people see me. And now you take this responsibility to change who you are and how you show up. That's a painful process to look at yourself and go, ew. And you're like, oh, I don't want to see myself, so I'm not going to record. So it's better and easier for your psyche to not be on social media, to not be famous. Why do people not want to be famous? It's painful. It's painful to know yourself.
Right, right. So when you talk about this with with emotion and passion, and when did you figure out for yourself, like when did it click with you that not only you were good at helping people figure this out, but you really had something to sell. You really had a program. You really had something, that could really help the people with their star power. When did that click with you?
This is the piece that's hard to teach entrepreneurs because I came up in the system of television, which promotes experts and people like you and me and Grant and Mel, and that's why they're in television and media stars, because you have to be a coach. You have to act, if you want to teach someone in social media, you got to understand how to teach people in your real life. How are you going to teach? So here's what people don't understand, coach. Oh my God. This is my church. I can do it. This is my 5-minute TED talk. This is my sermon. You can't teach something that just happened to you.
Right.
Just because you went through some shit and you learned some shit and you're like, oh, I know I did this. That doesn't mean you can just turn around and tell people, oh, here's my methodology. How would you know your methodology? You didn't learn a methodology. You reacted and you just picked up pieces over time, like a rock getting worn down. Something happened to you and you learned something. Yeah. Teaching that to somebody else, that's a whole nother skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I use the word long obedience in the same direction. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I totally agree with you. I'm a big mastery person. I'm not a cotton candy person. I've been coaching people for 27 years since I was 15 years old. Like now I'm just starting to find a rhythm and a cadence, but patterns and methodology. Like you said, it's not something you go through last week and then all of a sudden you're an expert on it this week because you did it. Now, when you think about the mental roadblocks that keep people from pressing record, keep people from doing these things, is the biggest one fear, or is it, like you said, seeing yourself? Is it embarrassment? Like, what do you think it is? Because that's a big part of what
it's self-doubt on both of those levels, coach. I see the world in two pieces: the piece that is your methodology and what you're teaching and how you show up in acting and being in that role of the person, of the teacher. Yeah. So, and we fear both. I don't have enough knowledge and I'm not showing up as strongly or powerfully or as smart as I would like.
Several years ago, I was in New York City with you guys, and we were going over to pitch an idea to, I don't know, where your wife was working, right? One of those networks.
Good Morning America, yeah.
And we kept saying the idea is not strong enough. The idea is not strong enough. The idea is not strong enough. And I think this is a big thing, because when the idea is not strong enough, it's like it can't appeal. So when you're looking at an idea and you're going, yes, that can be a big idea, what are you looking for? Because that day was like, that's not strong enough. We can't get on Good Morning America. It's not going to appeal to enough people. Right? Like, talk about that. Because when you're writing books, you need an idea that's strong enough. Now, I want to go back to something you said earlier as you answer this. I actually disagree with Simon Sinek, who wrote Start with Why, Find Your Why, I would tell you that most of the big time people I'm coaching have no idea what their why is. Okay. They in that pursuit of something, of working a muscle, of usage of something. Maybe their purpose found them. They didn't find it. So I do not believe you got to find all this stuff before you do something big in the world. And that's just a realization I've had in the last 6 months, man, of just coaching people.
I agree with you. Look what I just wrote down about an hour ago, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's probably going to be backwards, but that says your how is greater than your why.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's
how
good.
You show up, how you do it, how you're in the middle of action, to 100% agree with you. And I've had this epiphany for years, because it's the piece that you're just saying it because it's like, oh shit, this is the thing. Yeah, that's the only people, that's what I'm encountering over and over again, is people like, they're just telling the stories of why they're doing things. I don't care. That's for you. And that's cute. And I might see myself in it. That's less important to me than your actual execution. That's less important to me than what idea, what 10X, what 5-second rule, what 4-hour work week, what any one idea are you handing me that now get back to your question, what makes something pop and be interesting? Because it has to fucking strike you, dude. Yeah. This is where you're changing and starting to realize and grow, which is, it's not about what's in your head, it's what's in your heart. It's about how that idea, and you go, oh shit, where it strikes you and you're like, oh, I literally have a paradigm shift. I'm like, I can't see the world any other way now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I think a lot of people don't, I was coached by a person early on that said, give everything a unique name, make everything a unique process. And one of my early coaches said to me, before you become famous, create position by concept. Create concepts that are so strong that people would be attracted to them, whether they knew who you were or not. They're coming for the concept. Then they figure out you're good once they get there. And I've never forgotten that, because a lot of people, when I say position by concept, create an incredible concept. Like for me, when I wrote Person of Interest, that was a strong concept, because a lot of people want to be people of interest, right? It's like, how do I aspire to do this? Now, let's talk about your program, Star Power. When you develop that, give me an example of like the steps that you take like I have 5 big structures I take a person through. Talk to me about that, because a lot of people that are watching this, some of them are going to know who you are. Some of them do not know who you are, and they're looking at this baby start. They're attracted to the concept, and you have a methodology, a process of going through. Talk a little bit about that, because those people are going to experience some of that methodology that day with us on September 13th in my lodge when we do Baby Star to Big Star.
And so that methodology that I've mapped out, what I love about it, and what you're probably experienced way before me, Coach, is that methodology now, it was this very big 40,000 foot thing. And I've never had anybody take it and be like, it changes how you see things in all these aspects. What I'm learning now is, because I've put my methodology out there and have used it for so long, those were all the big pieces. Like I have 2 courses out, right? And I sell them all in the one thing because they're all related. And what I'm learning now, like what it's really about now, what I'm showing up to the lodge with, dude, I've never talked about before. Wow. It's all brand new. It's all me figuring out everything that I know now. That's the detail of how to get it done.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to teach 3. So I'm going to have 3 sessions of like 45 minutes. I got the 3 dude, I got a map to the 3 sessions. I know and I've never talked about it before. It's this insight of here's the steps you have to take that allow you to overcome that fear, that stops you from pressing record. The main reason people stop is because they don't know actually the idea of, this is so funny to me. And it literally, I didn't realize it till a week ago. I was coaching this guy and I go, dude, what problem are you solving for whom? And he's like, I'm not really sure. I'm like, you don't know what problem you're solving? You don't know the exact problem, the exact person that would benefit from your advice? He's like, not really.
Yeah.
Without that, you can't talk. Yeah, what am I going to say? Okay. You don't know what to say because you actually don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm excited that you're going to be talking about that blueprint, because I think that's what people need. I don't think most people have even given any serious thought, if they're not in the space we're in, about telling a better story, about having a compelling message. Because it was really through my work with you guys that I understood. I had all this stuff out there. I had all these things, right? Then after our sessions, I come to the realization I have these 5 things that are important. And here's really what I'm trying to do and for whom I'm trying to do it for, right? And I need to package it up and sell this structure. I'm selling this system to people. And so that was what I took away from our coaching. That did it, right?
It's me.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
calling me.
Yeah. Tell it, brother.
No, it's not about it. But I want you to sell me coach. I want Burt to be the center. Now,
That's right.
you got one more level to go.
Yeah.
When that language becomes, I got to sell myself.
Yes.
Now you're completely in the zone, dude.
So let's take that one step further. All right. So when you're saying that, give an example. So you're right. You got a structure, but what are you really selling here? Explain to that what you're just talking about.
I'm talking about coach going back to his roots, and now you showing me you coaching people in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, in 5 days, in 5 years. The process, the coach in the ring, boom, boom, boom. He's got tough love. No, he's got some advice. Here's coach coaching. Show me, show coach coaching.
Yeah, you trying to get me motivated, Hank. I thought I was a motivational guy.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, this is so good, man. Your stuff is getting so rich, and it's getting so refined. And the people that are going to come to this at the lodge need to hear this, because I think there's a lot of confusion sometimes on what are we selling. And we need to get back, like you said, we need to show people versus tell people, right? Show them what we're doing. Show them how we're helping. Show them the unique process. Capture it.
Here's the promise I can make, coach, because I've been doing this, just only been doing this thing for 10 years. And I've been in TV and the media my whole life, making people famous. From literally, The View is 23 years old now somehow. I've been only doing this. Here's the thing nobody understands, that it's not just about understanding all those things and getting and having a brand. When you see yourself on camera, it changes your life. Like you're moving slowly into caring about other people slowly in your life, probably anyway. What social media does to you is it just makes you grow as a person. So if you're stuck, if you don't know what you're talking about, if you're not making enough money, if anything is fucked up in your life, dude, these ideas, it's just like a coach, dude, right? Like I don't feel like going to the gym. It doesn't matter. If you go, you'll get stronger. If you do the things you and I are talking about, your life will improve all over. Not in one place, not in the bank account only, your whole in your bedroom. I guarantee it.
That's good. Woo, this is going to be a good day, Hank. I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to bring it on. Bring it on to Tennessee.
Do you have camera guys, coach? If you don't have a camera guy, I'll bring a camera guy, dude. We got to fucking film it.
Yeah, we're going to have a camera guy.
Okay.
We're going to have, and listen, these people in Tennessee going to love you, Hank. That's what I'm going to put out. I'm going to put out in the thing. This baby star to big star will help you in the bedroom. That's what I'm going to put on the thing, right?
Hey, that's what I'm about.
All right, so let's wrap this up, man. I think we've set the table. We've set the expectation. I think we've given some meat here. I'm excited about this day. I think it's going to be very impactful. I do believe everybody needs a coach in their life. I do believe that people of interest have something valuable inside of them that they're trying to put out to the world. And I think you are a master at forcing us to think deeper about these things and get clarity on what it is we're selling. So September 13th, it's at my beautiful lodge in Tennessee. It sits on 23 acres. I'd like to get 100 people in the room. We're running a 2-for-1 special. So you get 2 people for the price of 1. You get a person of interest. All of my stuff I've done on person of interest. You get Inside the Mind of a Monster. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you get when you sign up for this. So I promise you this will be an impactful day for you. So Hank, Norman, thank you very much, man. You're a true star in the industry and you're a good friend. And I'm really having fun watching you go from a baby star to a big star.
Thanks, coach. I appreciate it.
All right. See you soon. That's Hank Norman, guys, person of interest. Thank you for watching the show today. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for this lively interview, Hank. We're going to take it to the next level, brother.
Thanks, coach.
All right. Have a good day.